Hello students, good morning to all of you. Welcome to this virtual class. Today's topic is law of supply. We have already known what is supply and supply functions. We have already discussed that supply functions or your supply function equal to supply of x equal to function price of x goods, price of related goods R or Z, whatever value you may give it the name. Related goods divided in two parts, substitute goods and complementary goods. Next, we are discussing that price of factors of productions, price of factors of productions, price of inputs, then technology, T, we are discussing technology or T, and goals of the firms, government policy, etc. These are the different factors which are affecting to that supply. Or we have already said, after explaining all these points, price of the X goods, price of the related goods, price of the factor inputs, factors of production or price of the input, the T, that technology, government policy, goal of the firm, etc. The supply function expresses the functional relationship between the supply of a commodity and its various determinants. These are also to be called as various determinants or the factors of the supply functions. So, before we start, why I am speaking these factors affecting the supply and determinants of the supply? Because in this case, law of supply, there are some factors which will remain same or constants. So you must know in detail what are these factors. So before we explain this, I want to say that what do you mean by law of supply? Law of supply states that the relationship between price of a goods and quantity of the same goods, or we may say that the relationship between price of the X goods and quantity supply of the X goods, price of X goods and quantity supply of X goods. We have already known similarly the law of demand. So you can say that what is law of demand? Law of demand said that other things being equal, there is the inverse relationship between price of a goods and quantity demand of that goods. That goods must be the normal goods at a given time. That is called the law of demand. Similarly, law of supply says that, you may write, other things being equal, there is the direct relationship between price of a goods and quantity supply of a goods at a given time. Or we may say that other things being equal or ceteris paribus, other things being equal or ceteris paribus. I am not writing here because I have already explained clearly. Other things being equal or ceteris paribus, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity of the supply of goods. That is price of X goods and quantity of supply of goods. So what is the law of supply? We may write here, other things being same or equal. First case, or that is called that ceteris paribus. This means other things being equal. There are the some factors which will be constant. That is to be called that. What are the factors? Accordingly, I will write other things being equal क्या होते हैं. Next, there is the direct relationship. Direct relationship. Inverse relationship in case of the law of demand. Law of supply, direct relationship. In between price of a goods and quantity of supply of the same goods at a given time. That is to be called the law of supply. Book has written the different ways, different language. That does not matter. Our basics should be clear. Then you can write in your own words, own language. So what is the law of supply? Law of supply states that other things being equal, or that ceteris paribus, or we may say that other things remaining the same, quantity supply of a commodity is directly related to the price of commodities. It means there is the right price of X goods, direct relation with the quantity of supply of X goods. That is to be called the law of supply. Or in other words, other things remaining the same, when price increases of a goods, quantity supply of increases of the goods. When price decreases, quantity of supply of the goods decreases. For example, price of X goods or quantity of supply of X goods. Price increases 10 to 12, quantity supply maybe increases 200 to 250. Or we may say that the price of X 10 to 8, quantity of supply of X goods, that is 200 to 150. Price increases, quantity supply increases. Both are moving in the same direction, that is the direct relations. Price decreases, supply also decreases. Both are moving same directions. So that is called the direct relationship between price of the goods and quantity of supply of the goods. But think about the law of demand. Price increases, demand decreases. Price increases, demand decreases. And price decreases, demand increases of that normal goods, of a normal goods. So that is the law of demand. A law of supply, that is that other things being same, other things remaining same, other things being equal, or ceteris paribus. There is a direct relationship between price of the goods and quantity supply of the goods. That is to be called law of supply. So in our analysis, law of supply, although the other things remaining same, ceteris paribus, but our analysis always will be in between price of the goods and quantity of supply of the goods. So that time we can say that symbolically law of supply can be expressed by symbolically supply of X equal to function of price X ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus. It means if law of supply implements in between the price of the goods and supply of the goods, then that will be in which cases, what are that other things being equal. We have already discussed supply of X equal to function of price of the X goods, price of the related goods, factors of inputs, factors of productions, state of technology will remain same, or the goals of the firms, expectation. These are the various factors. So first will be what are the other things being equal or ceteris paribus. what are the features, they will remain same. It means that is called that assumption of the law of supply. Other things means equal, it implies that assumptions. You are very much clear what do you mean by assumptions, or we are discussing the law of supply. So assumptions of law of supply means when the law of supply operates, that is the price increases, supply increases, and price decreases, supply decreases, what conditions? That is called that assumption. First one, price of the related goods should remain same. Price of the related goods. On that day, I was given the example. Suppose X and Z goods are the substitute goods. If X goods price remains same, then Z goods price increases, then producer will produce that more and more Z goods because price are increasing. That is why it is because the price of the related goods remains same. Constant रहेगा. It means that case X goods was constant and Z goods price increasing, so the law of supply is in between that Z goods and the price of the Z goods and quantity of supply of the Z goods. And we are discussing that related goods. After the related goods, we are discussing that factors of inputs, price inputs, factors of productions. It means if that labor charges will be increased, interest will be increased, so naturally price of the goods will be increased. That cases that law of supply does not implement or does not functions. So that price of the factors of production or price of the input should remain unchanged. Second point, price of factor inputs or production will remain constant or unchanged. Same. Raw materials cost, if it will increase, naturally the price will increase. So in this case, law of supply, so that is automatically intends to increase the price of the goods. But here says that only factor inputs price will not increase, that will remain same. Then that price increases, supply will increases, then the producer earn that profits. That is that situation in case of the law of supply. That is why price of factors of inputs or that factors of production will remain same. Similarly, we are discussing that state of technology. If any technology will increase, the producer will produce that more and more output with the less cost of productions. So that time here we are saying that level of technology should remain unchanged. Third point, level of technology should be unchanged. And what is the objectives of a producer or a farmer? Producer aim always to earn that more and more profits. Goals of the farm always is earn to that more and more profits. So in this case, the goals of the farm should be remain unchanged. Goals of farm should be unchanged or same. Or one point I left, that is that government policies. So government policies regarding that I am speaking about the excise duties. When the government imposes that more excise duties, the price will be increased. So here is the conditions that government policy regarding taxation should be unchanged. Government policy regarding the taxations should be unchanged. Fifth point, I may say that as per the government policy about the taxations, about taxation will be unchanged. Will be unchanged. It means there will be no increase in the excise duties or the custom duties, so that law of supply will be implemented. So these are the assumption of the law of supply. Then that law of supply will implemented. Remember it. I was discussing whenever that the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. At that time I was discussing one point, that it discussed whether there is some factors will constant. That is why other things being equal, the law of supply operates. So other things being equal, here is that is ceteris paribus. It means that assumptions, there are some factors which will remain unchanged or which will remain constant or which will remain same, then that law will be operated here. In microeconomics, then that law is, any law is formulated in microeconomics, there are some factors will be constant or some factor will remain same, then that law of supply operates. So that when we are saying that other things being equal or other things being remaining same or that ceteris paribus, it means it is clearly understood that there are some factors which are constant, which are unchanged, which are same. These are the price of the related goods will remain same, price of the factor of inputs or production will remain same, level of technology should be unchanged or remain same, goals of the firm should be same, goals policy about the taxation will be unchanged. Sorry, government policy about the taxation policy will be unchanged. These are the assumptions which are in that law of supply. With regard to this, law of supply will operates. Now we'll switch over to next topic, that is that supply schedule and supply curve. We'll switch over to the supply schedule and supply curve. Before we explain the law of supply, we must know that supply schedule and supply curve. Then we will go to the law of supply. Similarly, you have already known in the demand chapter the demand schedule and demand curve. Demand schedule and demand curve. So similarly here is that some supply schedule and supply curve. What is the supply schedule? What we are observing here, when the price increases, supply increases. Price of the X goods, supply of the X goods, or that is quantity of supply. It is given in units and it is given in rupees. So sometimes I will write quantity of supply of X goods, QSX, the price X. Price is 10 rupees, quantity is suppose 20 units. Price increases to 11 rupees, quantity may be 22 units. Price may be 12 rupees, quantity may be that 24 rupees. This is to be called that supply schedule. This is called that supply schedule. I am giving that example of that supply schedule. SCHEDULE. This is called that supply schedule. So, from this table, you can explain by your own word what is supply schedule. I am expressing always in the word, this is the table. In your book, it may be the table number like this. You can give also table number. So, this is one kind of tabular statements. This is called that one kind of tabular statements. So first of all, that is what is supply schedule? Supply schedule is a tabular statement. Tabular statement. What is the tabular statement? When price 10, quantity supply of X goods 20. When price of X increases 11 rupees, quantity supply increases 20 units to 20 units. Similarly, 11 rupees to 12 rupees price increases, quantity of supply increases 22 units to 24 units. This box is to be called the tabular statements. 10 to 11 to 12, 20 to 22, 24. So supply schedule is a tabular statements. What does it show it? It shows the different quantities are supplied by a farm or a producer at the different prices of a goods. Clear, my friends? It means whenever price will be 10 rupees, quantity of supply will be 20 units. At what time price increases 10 to 11 rupees, quantity of supply will be 22 units. Similarly, price will be increased at what time 12 rupees, quantity of supply will be the 24 units. That is to be the expression of this table, so that we may write here that supply schedule is a tabular statement which shows the different quantities supplied of a commodity at the different prices at a given time or per unit of time. This is called the supply schedule. Again I repeat, what is supply schedule? Supply schedule is a tabular statement which shows the different quantity supply. This what is showing? The different quantities are supplied of a goods. 20, 22, 24. Different quantities are supply of a goods or commodity at different level of the price. ₹10 one level, 11 rupees one level, and 12 rupees one level. Or it is the different times. So different prices per unit of time. Per unit of time or given time. At a given time. It depends in your own language what or which way you will write. So now it is clear what is the supply schedule. Now this supply schedule can be expressed in the diagram. Supply schedule can be expressed in the form of diagram. So like that demand curve, similarly there is also supply curve. OX-axis quantity of supply of X goods. Y-axis price of X goods. Here the price is 10, 11, 12. Here the 20, 22, 24, 26. This may be drawn like this way, or here you will know in the statistics if it is not equal. So first point लिखिए 10 rupees price of the X goods. Sorry, price of the X goods, quantity is 20. Y-axis quantity of supply of X goods, and Y-axis is the price of X goods. the quantity of supply of X goods is suppose this is 20, 22, 24, 26, 28 like this, and price is like this, is reserve line. Price is like that 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So whenever the price is 10 rupees, quantity of supply is 20 units. When price is 11 rupees, quantity of supply 12 units. When price is 12, quantity of supply is 24 units. So this supply curve, this is the SS is the supply curve. SS is the supply curve. It means the point is at 10 rupees 20 units. Suppose this is the point of A, B and C. This is the A, B and C. Whenever we join this point A, B, C, that SS is called that supply curve. It means 10 rupees 20 units demand supply. When price increases 10 to 11, supply also increases 20 to 25. When price increases 11 to 12, quantity supply increases 20 to 24. That is shown in the C points. And 11 rupees 22, that is shown in the B points. 10 rupees 20 units, that is shown in the A points. So this SS is to be called the supply curve. Likewise, we have already known the demand curve. So now, what is the supply curve? What is that supply curve? Supply curve is a graphical presentation that is shown in the graph papers. SS is the curve, so that is why it is that graphical presentation. This was tabular presentation, and this is graphical presentation. Tabular presentation and graphical presentation difference. So supply curve is that graphical presentations which shows the relationship between price of a goods and quantity supply of a goods. That is what is the A point, B point and C point. A point says that 10 rupees 20 units of the quantity of supply. B point says that at the 11 rupees 22 quantity units of supply. C point says that at 12 rupees 24 units of the quantity of supply. So these A, B, C points, points, when we will draw, that is a graphical presentation. So what that graphical presentation shows that the relationship between quantity supplied of a commodity and the price of that commodity at a given time is to be known as the supply curve. So SS is the supply curve. Sometimes the supply curve may be from this not origin, it may start from this S is the supply curve. So it means this price, which is that OS, is the reserve price. It means the producer does not want to sell below this price. Producer does not want to sell these goods below this price because he will suffer the loss. That is why that time this price is to be called that reserve price. One more question. What do you mean by reserve price? So what is reserve price? Whenever the producer is not ready to below that any other prices, that much price which is reserved for the producer or the farm is to be called that reserve price. So now it is clear what is the law of supply and what is assumption of the law of supply, what is supply function and what is that supply schedule and what is that supply curve. What is the shape of the supply curve? as a supply curve which move upwards, because you have known DD demand curve, always demand curve. What is the shape of the demand curve? Demand curve slope downwards from left to right. SS is the supply curve which slopes upwards from left to right. So region behind the upward sloping of the supply curve, as we have already discussed that regions behind that demand curve slope downwards from left to right. Law of diminishing marginal utility, income effect, substitution effects, producers, new consumers, all these points we have already discussed. Similarly, here only 2 points. One is that law of diminishing marginal utility, law of diminishing marginal productivity, law of diminishing marginal productivity, law of diminishing marginal productivity. We have already clear in that law of variable proportions. Second stage, law of diminishing the marginal productivities. And third one, goal of firms. That is why the supply curve move upwards from left to right. What are the main reasons behind upward sloping supply curve? One is law of diminishing marginal productivity, because the law states that as more and more units of the variable factors are employed, the addition made the total production falls, that is that cost of production rises, thus more quantity is supplied only at higher prices so as to cover the price in the cost of production. Law of diminishing marginal productivity. Reason is that supply increases when price increases. And goal of firms is concerned, or that is called goal of profit maximization. Goal of profit maximization. Goal of profit maximization. Second point is the first point. Second point, goal of profit maximization. Goal of profit maximization. Why does supply curve move upwards? Because one is the law of diminishing marginal productivity, and second one that goal of profit maximization. The aim of the producer is to maximum profits. If the price rises, quantity commodity will be sold more, then the producer will earn that more and more profits. That objective, due to that objectives, price rises, supply rises, or price increases, supply increases, so that supply curve move upwards. This is to be called that is why it is to be called that supply curve move upwards. Demand curve slope downwards from left to right, supply curve slope upwards from left to right. Now this is the difference between also demand curve and supply curve. Remember it, when the question comes, either the demand and supply, you must go through your question paper, or that what the question is asking very carefully, otherwise that answer will be totally wrong. Thank you very much.